Should we start? Should we go? Good morning, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. I am delighted to welcome you all to this panel to recognize and to celebrate women in all their diversity. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to our participants who are joining us virtually, including many of our OAS ambassadors, ministries of health, civil society, and partner organizations. We have more than 700 participants who have registered for this event, so we're really excited. My name is Jessie Choutenay, and I'm with the Office of Equity, Gender, and Cultural Diversity at the Pan American Health Organization. I'm honored to moderate this panel with distinguished speakers, experts in digital health from Ministries of Health, International Development Bank, civil society also. This event is coordinated with the Department of Evidence and Intelligence for Action, and I want to thank Sebastian Garcia for his leadership. I'm also co-moderating this panel with Marcelo D'Agostino from the Department of Evidence and Intelligence for Action and Health. I'd like to remind you that we do have interpretation available in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. International sign interpretation and subtitles are also available. So the theme for this year's International Women's Day celebration is DigitALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. It's a timely topic. There's so much potential for technology to empower women and girls and also improve health outcomes. Technology and innovation have contributed to positive advances in healthcare delivery. And there are also challenges to accessing high quality connectivity and the need for protection and privacy. And these are all things that we will be delving into in our conversation. It's a pleasure to announce our first panelist is Dr. Jarvis Barbosa, who is a bit delayed. So our Deputy Director, Dr. Mary Lou Valdez, will be presenting remarks on behalf of Dr. Barbosa. Dr. Valdez has an extensive experience in the field of public health, and under her leadership and guidance, we at PAHO have been able to increase our collaboration with partners to advance public health in our region, with a special attention to gender equality in health. Our second panelist is Ana Estela Haddad, who is the newly appointed Secretary of Information and Digital Health at the Ministry of Health in Brazil. Ana Estela is a professor at the odontology faculty at the University of Sao Paulo and coordinator of the Center for Telehealth and Odontology. She has extensive experience in telehealth and in telemedicine and as a scientific director of the Brazilian Association of Telemedicine and Telehealth. Our third panelist is Antonio Benito, a professional journalist who works at Radio Pawinakel, a community radio station of the Maya Pocoman, which means our people. She has collaborated at the Maya Cat news program and is a member of the Network of Indigenous Youth of Latin America and the Caribbean. Ms. Benito has dedicated her work to putting an end to all forms of discrimination and using her voice as a journalist to speak on behalf of Indigenous peoples with a focus on youth. Our fourth panelist is Jennifer Nelson from the Inter-American Development Bank. She's a specialist for digital health and a public health professional with a focus on health informatics, program management, information use, and quality improvement. Currently, she leads the digital health team, providing technical support to IDB's digital health transformation portfolio to support public sector clients harness digital tools to improve quality, access, and equity in healthcare and public health. I think you will agree that we have an amazing panel for you today. And now I'd like to hand over to Dr. Lou Valdez for opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Again, As Jesse said, Dr. Barbosa has been slightly detained, so he's asked me to step in quickly for this important event. So let me begin. Distinguished guests, collaborators, staff members, and all of those who have joined us today. Good morning and an incredibly warm welcome to our panel, DigitALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Let me especially welcome our distinguished panelists, Ana Estela Haddad, Secretary of Information and Digital Health of the Ministry of Health in Brazil, Jennifer Nelson, International Development Bank Specialist for Digital Health, Antonia Benito, Network of Indigenous Youth of Latin America and the Caribbean. It is a special privilege for us at PAHO, on behalf of all of us at PAHO, to host you today as we discuss a topic of great importance, not only for the region of the Americas, but globally and for me personally. As Dr. Barbosa mentioned in his first speech as director of the Pan American Health Organization, he is both enthusiastic and humbled about leading an organization and taking seriously the crucial role that this organization has been playing for over 120 years. One of PAHO's key pillars is to contribute to gender equality in health in the region of the Americas. These high ideals are challenging to attain, especially for women and girls. Being a woman has a significant impact on her health, primarily because of cultural norms and gender roles that impact her health. When you look further at the intersections of being a woman, along with the dimensions of race, ethnicity, age, and other social cultural factors, all of these identities further shape her health. As pointed out by our United Nations partners, growing inequalities are increasingly evident in the context of digital skills and access to technologies, with women being left behind as a result of this digital gender divide. Advancements in digital technology offer immense opportunities to address development and humanitarian challenges, and to achieve the 2030 Agenda's Sustainable Development Goals. A gender-responsive approach to innovation, technology, and digital education can increase the awareness of women and girls regarding their rights, especially in the health sector. In this sense, the need for inclusive and transformation technology and digital education is crucial for the sustainable and inclusive features for women and girls. The World Health Organization's global strategy on digital health, adopted in 2020 by the World Health Assembly, states that digital health can improve health outcomes and contribute to more efficient and sustainable health systems, enabling them to deliver good quality, affordable, and equitable care for all. Therefore, under PAHO's leadership, the region of the Americas was the first region to approve Resolution CD 59/6, entitled Roadmap for the Digital Transformation of the Health Sector in the region of the Americas, to accelerate the processes of digital transformation of the health sector in all countries and territories of the continent. And since 2020, PAHO has been promoting the positioning of women leaders in digital health. El desarrollo tecnológico y la innovación presenta.
Technological development and innovation.
La innovación presenta nuevas
oportunidades, new opportunities
y nuevos desafíos
as well as new
para las
challenges
mujeres y las niñas.
for women and young
Sin
girls.
embargo, no
However,
beneficia
it does not
automáticamente
benefit
a todos por
automatically
igual, por
everyone
lo que
in
es
the same manner. This is
extremadamente
why it is
importante discutir
extremely
prácticas
important
en
to
torno a la
fine
innovación
practices
para
that have to do
podrían
with innovation
acelerar la
that could
igualdad
speed
de
up
género y
gender
el
equality, as
empoderamiento
well as
de
the
las mujeres
empowerment
en el
of
sector de la
women
salud.
in the
Con
health
mención
sector.
anteriormente, no
As I
debemos
stated earlier,
olvidar
we must
que
not forget that we're living in a region which is suffering as a result of historical inequalities within and among the countries. No healthcare system may respond to the actual needs that the population has unless it is truly permanently concerned with identifying those demographic groups which are being left behind and also in promoting equality. Dr. Barbosa, as a director of PAHO, I would like to plea all of the organization. I would like to urge you so that the voice of those invisible people may gain a space at the table to be able to speak and be heard, especially the voice of women. We must not forget that they are Afro descendants, native peoples, LGBTQ plus, people with disabilities who live perhaps on the streets, among many others. We have always been enthusiastic about the possibilities that public health may offer in order to be able to build a better world that is more equitable, that it is united with universal health for all. Today, therefore, we're going to be precisely speaking about that opportunity through digital health, inclusive digital health. I thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks and for really setting the scene for us. I'll now hand the moderation over to Marcelo D'Agostino, who is our PAHO in-house expert on digital health and technology. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Jesse. Muchas gracias,
Thank you very
doctor.
much, Jesse. Thank you, Dr. Milu Valdez. You're all welcome to this very important event. A special greetings from our department director, Sebastián Garcia, who is in a mission at this point in time in Ecuador. We will start the panel discussion, and let us remember that there is simultaneous interpretation into the 4 languages, because we will be having questions and answers in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So in order to make a bit of a change, we're going to start with Portuguese. I will be asking my first question to Dr. Anastela Haddad, and I will be making use of my best Portuñol so that they may respond in Portuguese. Thank you very much, Anastela, for participating at this very important event. Our congratulations for your appointment as Secretary for Information and Digital Health in Brazil. We would like to know, what is your vision as in the medium and short term in order to advance the digital transformation of the health sector in Brazil, focusing on women and young girls? Go ahead, please. Very dear Dr. Marcelo, Dr. Marilu, Jesse, Jennifer, Antonia, it is indeed a great pleasure, and I thank you so very much for this opportunity of being with you here today. I would like to congratulate you as well as all women on the occasion of this International Women's Day, which for a long time has become a day which is paramount and which has to do with the advancement of gender issues. I would like to highlight the issue of digital health today, as well as the inclusion of women and young girls. First of all, to say that we are aware about the importance of breaking barriers and reducing inequalities, of strengthening and bolstering the progress that has been made and ratifying the achievements that we've had as of now, especially here in Brazil. We are at a point in time where we believe we have a government of unity and reconstruction in our country. And it is within that outlook that digital transformation, including health, and being aware our government about this, it has placed itself in a position to reduce inequalities, considering social indicators so that people may indeed positively use digital health. Digital transformation, as far as health is concerned, is something which is fast, um, speedy, and an awareness about this was broadened as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, we are reviewing this issue on a broader manner, but we see that there's greater inequalities and it is piecemeal at times. There are some challenges, and at the same time that people are immersed in this digital era, we're also going through an era which is not yet digital, but it is cognitive, where we have artificial intelligence, the utilization of machines, um, precision medicine, et cetera, plus all those issues that have to do with healthcare systems, digital health on the one hand, which presents a tremendous potential with regard to digital health, so that people may improve indeed the quality of comprehensive care for health, both at the individual as well as the collective levels, and also deal with the risk to individual and collective health to the extent that this expansion allows for the automation of decisions and procedures in order to reflect and ponder about the trends, excluding discrimination to the extent that this might be used in a manner that might generate problems. We must be protecting the data, the information for the sake of public interest. Here in Brazil today, we are inaugurating and starting a whole series of measures, not just in the field of digital health, but there are several ministries which are partaking in submitting measures that will reduce inequality in the favor, especially of women and young girls. Among others, the present government established this ministry, the Ministry of Health, which is the Ministry for Information and Digital Health. Together with this, and with this I conclude my response, we have a digital health strategy in place where we choose among a whole series of guidelines which are in line with the guidelines of the Pan American Health Organization and also the effort of Dr. Marcelo D'Agostino. And I must say that we have the tremendous challenge of establishing an organizational, legal, and regulatory agency that may make this collaboration effective as far as digital health is concerned, geared toward the universal healthcare system of our peoples for both collective and individual health, implementing a normative, consumption, and educational approach that will favor collaboration. And to do all of this, there is the great importance of us being able to prepare autonomous bodies that include women and young girls that may result in security and responsibility in this digital era. Thank you so very much for the question and the opportunity to participate. Thank you. Thank you very much. We thank you.
Antonia Benito.
Let us move to Antonia Benito. Antonia, the question for you, as the leader of this network of indigenous youth from Latin America and the Caribbean, could you talk to us a bit about how can we reach those young indigenous people? My direct question is, what elements do you think we should prioritize in this process of transforming the health sector into a digital sector if we want to reach the young indigenous women? Well, good morning to everyone. Let me say hello in my indigenous language.
Es un gusto para mí estar
It's a
compartiendo.
pleasure for me to share this space with each one of you. In principle, because it's difficult often to have access to these spaces where the voice of the indigenous youth, the indigenous children can be heard. Her sound has cut off.
Antonia, se te cerró el micrófono.
The first thing is it's not very realistic, even though we are in a digital revolution. In Latin America, there are still communities who do not have electricity or have none or very limited access to the internet or any ideal or quality device that would give them access to technology. So that therefore limits them very much in having access to information that could empower young women and children. The digital gap is greater for the indigenous women in rural areas, for the older women, the grandmothers, who for many years have devoted their knowledge to be guides, to be helpers and mothers, and they don't know how to read or write. But now they're trying to use a technological device, a cell phone, and those are the ones we still consult because we still need to use the scientific medicine provided by the indigenous people. We still have a generation that had typewriters, saw the huge computers, and now the intelligent phones. So these women have that major challenge that they have to deal with. And so we're trying to work to help them strengthen their knowledge about digital devices. Why is digital transformation in health important? Why? Because we're still in a pandemic, and the indigenous youth during the pandemic used digital tools to be able to collaborate with the more remote communities and teach them about prevention methods. But we've forgotten that very often we've ignored talking about chronic diseases, about teenage pregnancies. We stopped talking about a lot of other very important health problems for us. So, although technology exists and access to the internet exists, but as I said, not all communities have electric power. It is therefore necessary to do partnership with community radios that do reach these communities and try to strengthen that knowledge on how to use technology. How can we use that technology to keep the traditional knowledge, the knowledge of the indigenous peoples, and at the same time, help everyone move forward? It's also important to create training opportunities according to the community context and in the indigenous languages and within the community itself, so as to improve the quality of life. Quality of life means nutrition, basic services such as water, and letting women have an opportunity to have a quality remunerated job, properly remunerated, because it is in this way that women will now have access to health and be able to cover their basic services that are extremely important. The Youth Indigenous Network in Latin America has developed some community projects, for instance, weaving, doing art, and enhance that through the use of technology. Thank you. Thank you very much, Antonia. I now would like to call on Jessie and give the floor back to her.
All right, thank you so much. So the next question is for Jennifer Nelson at the Inter-American Development Bank, specialist in digital health. So the IDB, the International Development Bank, is one of our main partners in information systems and digital health, and we at PAHO really appreciate the partnership. So the question that I have for you, Jenny, is what are the IDB's, what's the vision and the main priorities for digital health, and what practical examples can you highlight from our collaboration between PAHO and the IDB?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jessie. And thank you so much to PAHO for inviting me to be a panelist for this important event celebrating International Women's Day. It's an absolute honor to share this table with my fellow panelists and esteemed colleagues and experts in the field, and especially to our partner for the past 5 years in the field, Marcela de Agostino. It's really quite an honor to be here with all of you today. So thinking about the first part of your question, IDB's vision for digital health transformation for the Latin American and the Caribbean region is 100% aligned with the title of this seminar, to achieve digital health for all by leveraging digital technology to improve three things: efficiency, quality, and equity in the health sector. In our perspective, this requires combining a holistic approach through 6 dimensions of investment in digital health transformation, affectionately known as our digital health, aligned with the IS4H framework and the 8 principles of digital health transformation of the Panama Health Organization, but also including a differential approach to digital health transformation, considering the needs of specific populations and co-creating solutions with them with intentionality. Let me show you what I mean. Picture this. You're 20 weeks pregnant and you receive an alert on your cell phone letting you know that your lab results were abnormal on the way to see your doctor. When you get to your doctor isn't worried at all, because the reason that your doctor says your results are abnormal is because the system is using a default for a 40-year-old male. How would that make you feel? This actually happened to me, and I was extremely confused to wonder why a system designed for an OB-GYN practice was set to a default of a 40-year-old male, but it also left me deeply, deeply concerned. Well, I didn't have any negative health effects due to the white man default effect. How many other alerts had I trusted or would I trust in the future that also would suffer from this issue? We have evidence that algorithms for predicting heart disease or used by hospitals to predict who should receive pain medication lead to poor health outcomes for women, primarily because we're using data from white men and we didn't intentionally think about the differences and treatment needs of men and women. And we probably weren't involving women in the design of any of these solutions. So while here today, we all know that alerts and clinical decision support and digital transformation have improved quality, safety, and helped to save many lives, without a differential approach, they can also cause harm, deepening the health equity gap faced by many of the region and the region of the Americas. And that's why we need to be intentionally inclusive in our digital health transformation. To answer the second part about this question, I would highlight that the collaboration with PAHO in 2023, first of all, this year marks our 5-year anniversary of working together with the Pan American Health Organization in digital health transformation. In addition to the incredible people we've had the opportunity to work with, go on mission with, have weekly meetings with, I would highlight the intentionality that both organizations approach digital health transformation. It's not by accident that one of the 8 principles that both organizations are committed to is inclusive digital health in terms of policies, programs, and investments. Together, PAHO and IDB have supported 10 countries to design digital health agendas and roadmaps aligned with the regional roadmap for digital health transformation and the 8 principles for digital health, approved by all countries within the region. And to my knowledge, this is the only region that has such a regional policy at this level, which is something we should all be celebrating today as well. Together, both organizations are currently supporting 15 countries through the LACPASS initiative to improve cross-border digital health, to make way for a Pan-American digital health highway that will be inclusive and empower citizens to have access to their health information in a safe and secure way, starting with vaccines, because we'll design it from the start with intentionality. Digital health transformation in the health sector is challenging, and we're very proud to work with PAHO and all of the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean to harness the opportunity that digital transformation can have for all of us.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting to hear all of the different initiatives and really excited about what the continue to partnership. I'll hand over to Marcelo now, and just also to let everybody know that our director, Dr. Barbosa, is online and will be giving remarks at the end of the question. So please remain online with us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jessie. Thank you, Jenny. Ahora vamos a pasar a un segundo set.
Let's now move to a second set of questions, which Jessie and I discussed extensively with the other panelists. This has to do with the whole question of motivation. So I have the same question for the 3 panelists, and I'll start with Antonia to change the order a bit. And my question is, Antonia, if you had at this very moment to give 2 tips today to motivate, empower, and strategically position women's health in the area of digital transformation, from your perspective, as your role of the leader of these indigenous groups, what would be those 2 tips you would give these women who are part of your audience? Well, to begin with, I would not forget that the indigenous peoples continue to speak their language, and very often information and the use of technology is not able to maintain or to meet those needs of the indigenous people. For instance, as I said earlier, during the pandemic, many organizations took the information that was generated by international organizations like PAHO, WHO, and health sectors, had to be translated to the indigenous languages because that's what people needed. We need communication from the perspective, from the vision of the indigenous peoples, because very often that information is not consistent with the knowledge that the indigenous people have. So wherever we start to develop, when we start working on communication, mathematics, technology, we have to look at that, thinking that there are indigenous peoples who need to have access to that health system, but according to their own needs. For instance, visits are still doing home to home because women don't have access to an intelligent phone. They don't have access to social networks. Maybe the only thing they have access to, because the telephone system allows it, is to WhatsApp or Facebook. But there are many other types of communications that could be used. That's why I think it's very important to keep in mind that we can continue to establish partnership with the localities, with the people that are working on that in that community. I think it's also important to appeal for developing the work done by the women in their communities by encouraging, for instance, programs and projects that promote technological innovation so as to empower the young girls, the teenagers, the women, but from the perspective, from the vision of the indigenous people, because they still have scientific knowledge that is transferred from one generation to the other. And also to support the groups that help to empower women. For instance, at the regional level, Latin America, the Caribbean, from the network of indigenous youth, we are developing programs to help women to use a camera to make their empowerment more visible, and so that the women can use those resources to access technology. There are some who don't even have a computer to have access to education. So there's a lot of challenges, but I think that each one of the youth and older people that provide this support continue to work hard to ensure that we can reach everyone and everyone has access to technology and close that very large gap that still exists in the indigenous communities. Thank you very much, Antonia, for inspiring us. This opens the door to a lot of thoughts and ideas for those who are present here.
Advice now on how to empower them and how to promote this concept. What will be that recommendation? Also, if you are thinking of speaking with young ladies, what will be that message that you want to pass?
No, perfect. Thank you so much, Marcelo. It's a fantastic question. So I would say that we should definitely focus on that we need to be intentional about representation. So first of all, if you're a leader, I think you should be asking yourself, who's at your table when you're making decisions, setting strategy, deciding digital health investments and priorities. I really hope you have a diverse table, and I applaud you if you do. But unfortunately, in many of the tables that I've seen, they're missing out on talent, on diverse ideas, on business opportunities and priorities for 50% of the population, because they're missing women. As a leader, you can change who's at your table, who's in your panels, who are in your delegations, and I can guarantee you won't be disappointed. If you want tips on how you can design and monitor digital health in an inclusive way, check out the Inclusive Health Guide recently published by PAHO. Now, if you're a woman with a seat at the table, oftentimes you may feel like the odd woman out. Unfortunately, I would venture to say that all of us in this panel and many of us listening have probably been in that situation. My advice to you is if you start to feel uncomfortable, like you don't belong, remember it's not you. There's something fundamentally wrong with that table. Stand firm or sit firm, let your ideas be heard, and make sure to pull up another seat for another woman before you go. And if you didn't get invited to the table, to paraphrase the words of another woman leader, Shirley Chisholm, bring a folding chair. If you need some inspiration to do this, please visit our Digital Health Champions webpage, an initiative that PAHO and IDB launched together last year, where you can see a snapshot of amazing women who are doing work every day to move forward digital health transformation in our region. You can remind yourself that the Chief Technology Officer, the CTO of the company behind ChatGPT and DALL-E 2, OpenAI, Mira Murati, is a woman. You can also remind yourself that the president of Roxel, LAC's digital health network comprised of 10 governments, Diana Herrera, is a woman. You can remind yourself as well that the team leading interoperability in digital health in Jamaica, the first country where IDB and PAHO formed our partnership, led by Dr. Michelle Ruth, Dr. Keisha Barwise, Candida Lisser, Dr. Ken Ong, and Hillary Hines, is a team of strong and intelligent women. And there are many, many more. Celebrate them, celebrate yourself. Digital health transformation is critical to defining who, what, and how we will receive health services in the region of the Americas. Be part of the transformation. Your health and the health of your loved ones depend on it. Thanks,
Thank
Matilda.
you. Thank you so much, Jenny, for inspiring us also with your comments, but also on everything you do to position this topic on the agenda. So thank you so much. Ahora vamos
So now we move on to my portuñol. Same question for you. If you had to take two measures to speak with the women and young girls, what is the message that you would like to convey? We have almost 300 people now connected, and we're going to present an initiative in this message, which is extremely important. Thank you. I thank you very much. I have enjoyed so very much the answers given by Antonia and Jennifer, which is tell us how is it that we must necessarily combine the individual initiatives on the one hand, together with the public policies as well as collective initiatives, so that people as a collectivity may promote greater equality. Here in Brazil, I can quote the example of our minister, Nice Trinidad, who's the first women ministry for health in our country. And this follows the lines that Jennifer precisely gave us before. In this way, our women and young girls feel empowered, and they know that which has to do with women is paramount, especially the facilities also on the same ease and elements for men. All these technologies, the digital technology, which historically is an area where there has been a prevalence of male participation, they have had more space than women. However, to speak the truth, when we follow the history, and here I have a memory to our ancestral women, and this goes also to our young women in the future with a ray of hope so that much progress will be made. I remember Ada Lovelace was the very first woman who was considered as the first programmer. She was born in 1915, and she had a very special skill in mathematics. So I would like to convey as a message for our young girls that they always believe in themselves, that they realize the importance that they have in the solution, what they actually want to do. We have to realize what is for them so that they may decide where they want to place themselves. We as a society and as women, it is fundamental that we remain always united and being together. We have a term in Portuguese, which is solidarity, that some will help the others, that some will protect the others, and that we take care of one another, and that as a society, we do that we carry out this protection so that we have a better coexistence with a gender equality, race equality, social equality, and a more inclusive society in the digital era. Thank you so very much for this opportunity. My congratulations for PAHO for dealing with this topic and the chance given us to participate in this meeting. Thank you so very much. Extremely inspiring what you said. Thank you.
Jesse?
Yes, so thank you so much for the round of questions. I really feel inspired by your experience and for your expertise. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Now I want to pass it on to Marcelo, who's going to speak to us about a call to action for DigitALL and a community of practice that we want to launch in partnership with all of us here today. So Marcelo, please share with us more about this call to action. We're all anxious and excited to hear about it.
Muchas gracias, Jesse.
Thank you so very much, Jesse. What I'm going to say is based on the discussions and thoughts that we did with Jesse, with Sebastian, with Dr. Melu Valdez. So I am the spokesperson, so to speak, of a team discussion we had. And we discussed this together with Jenny, with Ana Estela, and in the future we will bring in Antonia, likewise, who has given us much inspiration in this regard. The idea, and this was a very clear indication, we did not want to have an event that would be just one more event, but actually the beginning of a whole process of an activity that will be maintained throughout time, as Jenny was telling us, to be able to sustain it and support it, because we're aware that we all have a role to play in this endeavor, that we can all do something to contribute toward it. We spoke also with Ana Estela, and she very gladly accepted, so that this initiative will be co-sponsored between the Ministry of Health of Brazil, the Pan American Health Organization, the Inter-American Development Bank. So it will be larger than PAHO itself. And we have already reached an agreement of important partners such as USAID, the CDC, the Spanish Cooperation Agency. Many of our partners joined in for us to be able to launch this effort. And we'd like to announce that also next week, we'll have a broad convocation in order to establish a network and a practice community that will operate permanently, monitoring and acting as an observatory to be able to position the topics of women's empowerment in the field of digital transformation of the health sector, with the idea of analyzing possible biases, algorithm biases, ideas for opportunities of training, to identify by means of working groups, element to modernize public policies, also bodies in order to incorporate sectors such as the academy or academicians, because this is part of professional work, and connect with other networks such as the University Network of Telemedicine in Brazil, the network that was mentioned by Jenny Raxel, the network of Relaxis, the CAITSA network in Central America. The idea is that we'll all summon up efforts and that we potentiate the best that we have in each one of our institutions, so that this subject matter would not just be a mere celebration that takes place one day, rather for this to become an actual process, so that next year we may meet again, even though this is not the same topic, but we may get together and to see what progress has been made and see if we all together have been able to forge ahead and make progress toward this purpose. This, in a few words, is the idea. Is it a great matter of encouragement? I have a daughter, who, of course, and the great inspiration of my life has been my mother, and also to highlight the work of Mirna Martin, who fortunately cannot be with us today, but she's the one who's always behind the whole picture in all our conversations so that we may put forward these topics in our agenda. I stop here, Jesse, and thank you so very much to all of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Marcelo. I think this is really exciting to have this community of practice on digital health and women's leadership. We hear so much about how we need a platform for different networks and professionals to be able to share experiences and to document lessons on how to improve and how to strengthen innovation in digital health. So now I am pleased to share that our director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Jarbas Barbosa, is online with us. So happy that you were able to join us. And so I invite you now to give us some closing remarks and some final words. Over to you, Dr. Barbosa, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jesse. Good morning. First, let me thank you all to participate in this very important webinar. So I want to thank Ana Estela Haddad, who is a good friend and Secretary of Information and Digital Health of the Ministry of Health in Brazil. Also, Jessenia Olaya Brekene, who is the Vice Minister of Talent and Social Appropriation of Knowledge of the Ministry of Science in Colombia. Also, I want to thank Jennifer Nelson from the Inter-American Development Bank and Antonia Benito from the Network of Indigenous Youth of Latin America and the Caribbean, and also Marcelo D'Agostino and Jesse Chuti from PAHO that have participated and facilitated this very important webinar. I also want to thank our Deputy Director, Mary Lu Valdez, that replaced me at the beginning of this meeting because I was also attending another meeting. This is the International Women's Day. So we had another meeting here to sign an agreement between many UN funds, programs, and agencies, and we also had some ministers of health participating. So I was a little bit delayed from my original schedule and asked Lu to replace me here. Let me switch to Spanish. Now, quería decir que es un tema
I just wanted to say that this is indeed a very important subject matter that was herein discussed because it presents us with a very important discussion on two topics which are equally a matter of priority in our region. Firstly, how can we manage so that the tremendous interest on the part of the countries, and it was highlighted by the pandemic, the interest of countries in bringing about the digital transformation in its healthcare systems, guaranteeing better data of better quality, facilitating access of people who live in remote areas through telephone, teleconsultation, and telemedicine, and other tools that this might be possible today. Now, of course, we acknowledge that this has to be discussed from a broader perspective. And in this webinar, we can refer to what our second presenter told us, who spoke us about the inequality in access to digital tools. Young women, young girls, adolescent girls suffer tremendous barriers in order to have access to knowledge and services, as well as quality jobs, and also to have access to the digital tools that may make it possible for them to participate importantly in the health systems, and so that they may have greater empowerment regarding their own health. So this is indeed a very important subject matter that we must necessarily discuss. The other point is something that has to do, of course, with the commemoration today of International Women's Day. So it is very important to express our greetings to all women, but also an invitation so that this may be a day of reflection, of constant struggle against any forms of violence against women in our region and in the entire world. Also to have greater gender equality. We have many indicators in our region, and there is evidence as to how women are a much more vulnerable group that suffers greater violence because they go through certain situations of maternal mortality and health issues which are not taken care of by the healthcare systems adequately. And oftentimes we have certain biases that do not allow to accept the decision-making and participation of women. Also acknowledge that the sector of technology and digital business is a male activity, basically, where there is little participation by women, which is not what it should be, and that it is indeed very important that we have women in these decision-making processes regarding that digital transformation and access of people to the available digital tools.
So it is a pleasure, therefore, to speak to you on this special day. This is a first step in a dialogue we will be having with professionals in the healthcare, ministries of health, also civil society, and the representatives of those groups who suffer the most from exclusion, the most vulnerable groups in our region, the First Peoples, the women, the poor families in rural areas in the major cities of our region. So that through this dialogue, we hope to establish in each country a strategy that will ensure that women, children, girls will become an important part of this digital inclusion so that they may have not only better health, but better life opportunities. So thank you very much, and I wish you a good day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jarvis. And I think that's a wonderful way to close this day. And as you said, it's a day of celebration, but also a day of reflection. A day that we want to work and contribute towards a more equitable world where women have a seat at the table, where women in all their diversity have the opportunity to live a healthy and a fulfilled life. I want to thank our speakers again, really rich discussions, really important expertise that you shared. And as Marcela said, I hope this is also the beginning of a journey where we work on this community of practice so that we have this platform to share and that we can sustain and continue our work together. So I also want to thank the 300 plus participants that joined us today, and happy International Women's Day. Thank you so much.